Hi everyone, Tim the Plane Man here. Welcome to Plane Time. So we're continuing to work on the Dancing Wings Hobby Sopwith Pup Micro plane, and having done the painting, we're now ready to start assembling some of the pieces together. So we have a fuselage painted and ready to go, and the cowling, which if you didn't paint will just be of course plain balsa, but otherwise will look just like this. So one thing that I want to do right now is the next step before moving on to assemble together some of the other pieces, like putting the tail feathers onto the plane, and actually then after that we're very close to adding the wings, is to put the magnets in for the cowling. So one of the things that happens with the magnets, there's holes in the front of the fuselage here where magnets that come in this little bag of goodies that they provide with the model kit. There's a little magnet that goes in each one of these holes. If you've worked with magnets before, you can skip this part, but I want to cover off some important sort of basic little trivial facts that'll help your magnet work to come together quite nicely, because what we want to have is a situation where the magnets basically clip the cowling into the front of the model and hold it in place. And it should click in kind of solidly and then hold in place unless we want to pull it off. And the reason we want to pull it off is we would want to get in here this is where the electronics are going to be. So the magnets are quite important. The trick is that if you assemble the model as explained, when you built the front of the model here, you put the magnets in when that part was assembled, and then when you get to this piece, you put the magnets in here. Unless you got the polarity of the magnets correct, if you know about magnets, probably learned it in school, cast your mind back, north and south. Every magnet has a north and a south, and opposites attract. It's where the saying comes from. North attracts to south, south attracts to north. If you put the magnets into these little holes so that you have norths, for example, sticking out, then if you put a north sticking on the facing side on any one of these magnets here, when you went to push the front on, it'd just pop right off again. It won't actually click and connect. But if you put all norths here and all souths here, it will click into place, hold strongly, and it'll be what you're looking for. So the trick is that these little magnets that come in this bag, well, they're tiny little metal buttons. If you see it up close, I'm going to zoom in and let you have a look at that in a little bit. There's nothing that tells you which is north and south. It's really not easy at all to tell, except for one little trick. They come stacked together in a little stack. There's 6 magnets together there, and they're stuck together. So the way they must be stuck together, because opposites attract, would be north-south, 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 alternating. So the trick when assembling the magnets is to make sure that you install them in pairs, or you mark them and be very careful, so that when you do install the first side, you get north on one side and south on the other side. Now I'm going to show you how I do it, which is to wait until you have everything ready to put together and then install the pairs of magnets one at a time. It's a little bit awkward because if you were able to connect the magnets together while that's lying flat, maybe that would be a little easier. But this way I know that when the magnets click together, I will know that I'll have matched north and south on the connecting end and the cowling end, and that the magnets will actually connect together, and that's what we need. So I'll turn the camera down, follow along, and let's see where we get to. So here we have the 2 pieces we want to join. The first is the fuselage itself and the cowling with the spots for the magnets. And what I've been able to do now is rescue the stack of magnets, this tiny little thing here, from the bag of goodies that it came from. So what we need to do now is we're going to have to pull off pairs. We've got 6 magnets here, and so there'll be 6 pairs, 1, 2, 3, and then the matching 1, 2, 3 on this side. And the trick is to do it in pairs, to do each pair one at a time. Well, that's my suggestion. That's how I do it, so that I can make sure that this works. So what needs to happen is that you need to peel off, and honestly, having slightly longer fingernails does help a little bit. Peel off 2 magnets. Now notice what I'm working with here is a magnetic mat. This magnetic mat came with a great set of tools that I picked up from Amazon. That's actually a cell phone repair kit. It contains a whole bunch of tiny little screwdrivers, which are great for the little screws and things that we'll need for this. But one of the best parts of the whole kit was this screw memory mat. It's great for when you do have tiny little parts which you're working on with a model like this. Because it's magnetized, it captures, like if you drop a screw, it actually sticks to the mat, but not because it's sticky, but because it's magnetic. In this case, that actually does 2 things for us, because one thing is that the mat itself is magnetic, so it will have the same effect north-south, and it'll attract one end of those magnets, and we can stack that over there in a corner, stick it to the mat, and it will stay there and won't roll off into some corner, which for these tiny little pieces, very easy to lose them. So be extremely careful when you're working with these things. The other thing that's happened, obviously, because my pair of tweezers is just metal, the magnets themselves will stick to the tweezers, which comes in quite handy as we're working on this. So what I want to show you here is how this needs to work. So the hole here in the cowling will be where one of the magnets fits, and I'm just going to fit that precise. It's pretty perfect, actually. The magnets that I found with the previous model that I built, the magnets were actually a little too small. I think they maybe ran out of the right size magnets. These ones I think are 3mm magnets, and they fit perfectly in these holes. Just check that they fit correctly without any issues in each hole. Yeah, they're fine. So what will happen with the magnet is each magnet will actually slot into that hole, and will sit cleanly, and with just a drop of super glue will be enough to hold it into place. So all we pretty much need to do is to get the magnet that we need in one side here, and then glue it into place there, and then we put the matching magnet into the matching hole on the other side. So it's important to match the hole on the receiving side together with the hole over here. The way this works, that there are 2 tabs on each side of the fuselage here, and there's 2 little slots on each side here, and then the hole that we have here, the holes, there's 3 of them. You can think, well, which way around does it go? It's pretty straightforward. This hole there is at the top. This hole there is at the top. So it might be easiest to start with the top hole, I think. So we'll do that. So what we want to do is we want to get a magnet into the top hole of the cowling here, and a magnet into the top hole of the cowling, or of the mounting base for the cowling over here, such that they will pair up. And right now they're paired. They have to be paired because that's how they stick together. If I took one of those magnets and twisted it around, they would push apart from each other. Because they're paired north to south, they stick together. So this is the order in which we want to get them in. We want to have this magnet here, that way around, and then we need to make sure that the same end of that, the opposite end of that magnet, is the one that goes in there into the fuselage like that. So one thing that I do that I find helpful, not as helpful as I like, but it does help a little bit, is to mark the magnet. Right now, the outside of the magnets, it doesn't really matter if it's north or south, the outsides of the magnets are the, let's say, the opposing side. If we have a north on this side, then we have a north on this side. But what we know is that if I mark the outside here and the outside there, then they're the sides that need to be away from the center when I ended up with it in place. And when I say mark, I'm going to take a Sharpie, and I'm going to scribble all over this side of the magnet here, make it as black as I can. The trick is that I've found, even though this is a Sharpie, technically it's a permanent marker, it will tend to wipe off if you get your fingers on it or something like that, because it really has a hard time marking that side of the magnet. But if we do that, hopefully we end up left with enough black marking on the magnet so that we have a hint if we happen to drop it or something like that, and we think, oh my goodness, I don't know which side we're at, then we can always go back to the Sharpie marking. So we'll have black. And the other thing about doing this on the outside here, the outside of the magnets will be the part that's underneath. So once this is glued into place, you'll never see that black marking. It'll actually be on the underside or on the back side of the magnet here. So it has several advantages doing it like this. So now we have black on the outside of the magnet, and it's pretty much safe to separate them. So we split them apart. See the Sharpie marking is coming off already. I'm just going to do a little bit more there. So now, because what I need to do is I need to glue one of those into each side. So I'm going to split the magnets apart, drop that on the mat, and now we have a magnet with black on one side and silver on the other side, which is what we want to end up with in here. So let me put that on there like that. So this is, we know that this is how that needs to be. And like I said, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the top. So here's our two tags. This is our top. So we're going to want that magnet to go in there like that and just clip into place. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a drop of super glue into the actual circle there, and then when I put the magnet in, basically that should be enough to hold it into place. It really doesn't need very much, just a tiniest dab of super glue. We want to make it on the edges more than on the sides, and we push it in like that. And have it click into place so that it's flush with the surface. And before I do anything else, I want to clean off my tweezers so I don't end up with super glue on my tweezers. But that's one side done. That's that. So now what we want to do is do the other side. Before we worry about these, get the other side in so we know we have our matching piece. Put that aside. So now what we want to do is we want to end up with this magnet with the black side on the inside or underneath. It's basically the same, except I'm not sure how I do this and make it possible for you to see it clearly. I'll try and keep it in focus, but you know, it's fiddly work, so trying to fiddle with the camera at the same time is a little tricky, but it's basically the same concept. And in fact, what I might want to do is make sure that I've got the tweezers, this on the tweezers, ready with the black side down, because the black side is the side that needs to click in there. Right, that's going to fit nicely. So now I'm ready for this. So put a little bit of super glue on the hole. Apologies for going out of frame. I'm pretty sure I did, but that should be fine like that. Just a drop, and then drop that in with the tweezers, and then try to get it flush before the glue dries. There we go, clicks in nicely, and there we have our first magnet ready to go. So I'm going to do the other two just the same, and then I'll come back to you and show you how it works.